Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. I am Lily, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can configure your game the way that suits you best. Let's start with going over the European map and the difficulties and what areas we can find what food types, what prey type, and also best and worst amounts of them. All locations are mimicking real life conditions during the timeline you have picked. So if you pick Midwest Norway during 10k BC, you will basically have 2 hares and 6 fish to live off, meaning you must migrate a lot till the environment changes over the millennia as the ice melts and thus allows more flora and fauna to survive in these locations. Beginner's difficulty will always have approximately 50 to 75% more food and prey than hardcore, while expert is the medium range and will have approximately 25 to 50% less options than beginners. The seed for each locality is 100% random, and even though you previously settled in same area and got tons of food, you could be unlucky and next time get less of some food types than you did before. The harder the difficulty, the further north you are and the further back in time you go, the least food you will have of both flora and fauna. And likewise, the easier difficulty, the more south and east you go, the more you will have of both types. Some flora and fauna need special conditions to thrive. We have especially 2 types of prey that needs very specified environments apart from milder climate. These are goats and sheep, and they will only be found in elevated positions with mountains nearby. They also will not be found in 10k BC in the more northern parts of Europe. To get clams, we do need ocean or nearby coastline, so if you find a river running into the sea, this is a good place to settle for both clams and fish from the ocean, and also fish, and if close enough to the coastline, clams from the river. In addition, you will also get reed and fiber from the riverbanks besides the tall grass, granting these resources. Some of our flora enjoys a colder climate while others will thrive wherever, and some again prefer it more warm. Most of our flora will be found in all areas if we are later Meso and Neolithic timeline. To get more hazelnuts, we will have more luck with the amounts if we stick to mid and more north of Europe. Blackberries as well will thrive good in more northern areas. Rosehips enjoy warm climates as well and will often be more numerous in more southern parts. The same goes for pine nuts, and they are even more difficult to please, so they can only be found in a small belt in southern France and northern Spain. Mushrooms do enjoy a more damp and shadowy environment, so shades from mountains and also forests are good conditions for them to thrive. Strawberries like it warm, so the further south you go, the more likely you are to find them in larger amounts. Honey also need warmer climates, and again, the more south you are, the richer they are likely to be. Roots can basically be found anywhere in any timeline, but perhaps not so much in 10k BC, as far north as you can get. All crop types can be found anywhere in Europe, but you are more likely to find them closer to the Neolithic timeline and or by settling very east and south of the map. Remember that starting in 10k BC in the area still in the grasp of the Ice Age, will have very few options of any flora and fauna, including their amounts. While moving more south, where we have green belts, we'll have much more to choose from. As the millennia go by, the flora and fauna will become richer as the environment becomes less hostile. If you start in Neolithic timeline, you will also either already have or soon have the option for farming and keeping livestock. Let's move on to configuring the game first for beginners and otherwise players that are outdated. We need to decide what culture we wish to start our tribe with, Meso or Neo, or even a mix. The further back in Mesolithic timeline we go, the less Neo we get, and likewise, the further forwards in Neolithic timeline, the less Meso. Starting default Meso will give you both cultures overlapping as the years go by, while a default Neo start will rarely grant any Meso culture at all. When starting Meso and playing into the Neo timeline, the game will slowly but surely transition to the Neolithic timeline in all aspects. We should now go over what the varying configuration options are and what you as a beginner are best served to choose. The timeline can be set manually or via slider by you as a player. The seasons can also be chosen as you see fit, but I recommend that all new players start in summer for tons and tons of food. Game mode is how hard the game should be. Hardcore is the mode where people who are experienced enough to survive like to play, while Expert is the more normal difficulty for intermittent players. Beginners is for the very new players that need to learn the game without being hammered by the hostile environment or tribe behaviors, or for those that just want to relax with an easier game. Beginners will have a very tolerant tribe and also very high amounts of flora and fauna. Expert will have roughly half the food options beginners have and also a less tolerant tribe. Hardcore is basically a rough 75% reduction of all foods and materials and a very intolerant tribe. The game speed is the speed you wish to play your game with. Some people like it slow while others want it fast, and of course we do have a medium speed as well. Fast is 1 day per month, Expert is 2 and slow is 3. Last is the guided tutorial. If you leave it on, you will be promoted to read and follow guidelines at the start of your game. I recommend beginners to start playing with beginner's difficulty, normal game speed and tutorial on. Settle by a river or any water and avoid cold and inhospitable areas while you are learning the game. I also recommend start playing Mesolithic culture in a warm climate and take it from there. Expert is the normal game difficulty and is very suited for seasoned players that already know some of the game mechanics. The food will be less than in beginners and your tribe will be less tolerant. For this game difficulty to be easier, you can play fast rather than slow or just keep the speed normal. If you still lack some experience, I recommend consulting the in-game tutorial. Hardcore is suitable for players who has a higher insight into the game and its mechanics, or if you want a big challenge. The food and materials will be very reduced while tribe aggression will be very increased. The easiest way to play is beginners on fast speed, while the hardest one is hardcore on slow speed. The reason why fast is so much easier than slow is because when you only have 1 day per month, you only need to feed your tribe 2 times per month, while on slow you have 3 days per month, meaning you will need to feed your tribe 6 times per month.